Sarah, Johnny, it's good to see you both. How are we today?
Good, thank you.
Great.
That's
Where's your
good to hear.
Trigun poster, man?
I know. I all I can do is get this old Tom Cruise dirty face in
Yeah,
here
who's that guy?
somewhere. Who's that guy? I'll add Trigun to the collection. I promise.
Okay.
I appreciate you both taking the time to chat. I'm always excited to talk to you guys, and I really want to jump in. I'm fascinated at the time jump between Stampede and Stargaze, and this 2.5 year gap, not just in the story, but obviously in recording. I'm assuming as well. And for both of you, and Sarah, I'll start with you. I'm curious to know sort of the evolution of your process in finding more about Meryl in that time and what that was like for you coming back into Stargaze.
Yeah, really, it's just sitting down and thinking about everything that's happened with the Lost July incident and not knowing whether Vash is alive or where he is. And then all of these plants start disappearing. And so it really was just kind of sitting down and thinking about everything she's gone through and carrying that with her into Stargaze.
And Johnny, for yourself, what is that this 2.5 years sort of gap in story and performance given you?
I just stayed depressed for 2.5 years and, as I waited for this to show up.
I can imagine, man. He's an interesting character to play, and I think one of the most interesting aspects of Vash for me is this sort of dichotomy he has with his principle of never to kill, but he's like an experienced gunslinger. It's like it's kind of like in his blood of what he knows. And I'm curious to know, for audiences, we crave complex characters like that. We like watching people's journeys. I'm curious, as a performer, sort of what that complexity and that substance sort of allows you to discover about Vash along the way.
Well, it's so much more fun to play.
Mm.
There's so many different levels, and it just feels really rewarding and I don't know, juicy.
Yeah.
It just feels great to play a character that does have those complexities, to see him struggle through trying to achieve that goal, and failing occasionally, it it just that journey and that story is it's really great to play. I think that's why it does resonate with people, because it's not very common to see in anime.
Totally, yeah. And Sarah, obviously, Meryl being an investigative reporter, I can only assume there's a lot of parallels being an actor and sort of investigating a character as well. And I'm
Mm.
curious to know what you try and look for, or I guess investigate, for lack of a better term, in scripts where with story beats and character design. What's sort of your process in finding the nuance of character within a
Yeah,
story?
absolutely. I mean, for me, it's all about my character's relationship to the other characters. What is our relationship? How does Meryl feel about this person? How does this person feel about Meryl? What does she need them to hear in this moment? I think it's very I'm always, as an actor in character, trying to reach the other characters through my words, because that's all I can do. It's just my voice. Yeah, I really just try and think about all of her relationships uh, while I'm recording, and all of the sort of different mixed feelings that she has about those things, and hoping that that comes through.
I I love the Trigun series in the sense of it's this heightened concept and a lot of cool things happen and it's really awesome to watch. But it does explore some really human and grounded things.
Mm.
It does feel quite grounded in reality. And I'm curious to know for both of you sort of what anime in general and the Trigun series has given to explore those sorts of themes in such a heightened way. It does feel grounded, but it is heightened. I'm curious to know sort of how you guys sort of see that as well for yourself as performers.
Wait, how do we see?
Sort of explain why how anime is a great vessel in exploring grounded themes, a heightened concept,
Hmm.
exploring sort of human things.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know how anime.
I'm thinking.
I think maybe, gosh, I don't know. Even the anime itself just relies on the source, right? And then
Hmm.
they're going and they're taking liberties and telling the story in the way that they think makes the most sense, but also pushing the boundaries of what, like Orange is pushing boundaries in CG and what they can
Hmm.
do,
Mm.
and they've kind of like developed a very like a style.
Mm.
And so I think also with the music that they've put in this one as well, really kind of carries the story through in a unique and different and interesting way. And I guess that's why, maybe because anime lets you do that,
Hmm.
you know,
Mm.
as opposed to
Yeah.
live action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a radio drama. I don't know.
Those things that are still around. Yeah, yeah. For me, it's one of those things where I feel like anime and like animated things as sort of this like interesting entry point that we don't sort of. It's a different perspective that we can view.
Mm.
Human emotion getting explored. And that's what I
Mm.
feel like it's really interesting. I'm glad you mentioned music, Johnny, because I know both of you have sort of backgrounds in music and theater and stuff like that. And music to me is such an integral part of exploring that emotion as well. I'm curious to know if there was a moment in Trigun where you saw a scene, you recorded it, you sort of knew it back and forth, and then you saw that scene with the music and how the music sort of maybe emotionally changed what you thought of the scene. Is there a moment that sticks out maybe in particular for you both there?
There are a few moments. It whatever that piano thing is that Knives
Mm.
plays that kind of keeps coming back through. Like every time I now hear that, I'm like, oh, whoa, you know. So there's a lot of that sort of thing. That's just, but they're doing that everywhere. The music in this is really great. There are a lot of great moments like that, but I do feel like if I go back to Stampede, because we have a couple more episodes. We haven't really finished for us yet,
Sure.
Stargaze, but Stampede, that final episode in Stampede, we're just doing the lines and doing the thing. You're feeling the emotion of it. But then when I watched through it, I was like, whoa, wow, that hits a lot heavier than I expected it to. I mean, was hoping that it would hit right, but then it really dialed in for me. I was really happy to see it complete and just feel it, and Austin did really amazing. And just because I didn't hear him, when I was in there, I'm
Awesome.
just doing my thing. And then to finally see both of us in there and hear both of us and go, wow, okay, that was really cool for me.
That's awesome. For you, Sarah, is there a moment where the music has sort of changed the perspective or emotionally added something to a scene for you when you saw it with the music?
Yeah, I mean that piano music and the way that it
Yeah.
swells at like the really intense moments, I think really it makes it so much larger than life. Um, and there was another scene that we did this season where I think it was the first scene that Meryl and Millie are in. They're in this like bar. Meryl's getting a banana split.
Mm.
And some guys come in and ruin her banana split. And then they do a round two and they play this like kind of dive bar, like jukeboxy music when they're coming back in. And I think it just really, I don't know, I feel like I'm in the dive bar in No Man's
Yeah.
Land.
This like fun, immersive sort of music.
Yeah.
That's why I think music is so cool and adds so much to it. I'm out of time there, guys. I really appreciate you both taking time. I love talking to you both. I love talking about this. Trigun is sick. As always, sad things like this come to an end, but I'm glad we had it. So I appreciate you both, and I can't wait to talk to you again for whatever's coming up soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you guys, and I'll make sure a Trigun post is here next time, Johnny.
There
I
we go.
promise.
There we go. Perfect.